In the shadowy annals of criminal history, certain cases are etched with an eerie significance, not just for the sheer brutality of the acts committed, but for the chilling shockwaves that reverberated through society when the perpetrators' identities were finally revealed. Picture, if you will, a dimly lit courtroom, the flickering lights casting ghostly silhouettes on the walls. The buzz of whispered conversations fades into the ether, replaced by an almost tangible silence that wraps around the room like a shroud. The gavel strikes with a resounding echo, and every occupant leans forward, hearts pounding, breaths held, eager yet fearful to catch a glimpse of the accused. Who could commit such unspeakable acts? What dark secrets lie beneath their innocent facades? The individuals charged with these crimes remain cloaked in a veil of enigma, their identities slowly, agonizingly coming to light, as if the truth itself is reluctant to emerge from the depths of darkness. But before we dive into the video, remember to subscribe and give a thumbs up for more amazing content here on the Untold Stories. The tragedy of Travis O'Arian. Our journey begins with Travis O'Arian, a dimly lit courtroom in Volusia County, the atmosphere heavy with anticipation. The air is thick with tension as the doors creak open, and a diminutive figure shuffles into view, barely visible beneath the shadows. Whispers snake through the room, each person craning their neck to get a better look. The prosecutor stands, methodically recounting the events of June 1st, 2021. As the details emerge, the shock grows palpable. A pint-sized gunman, only 12 years old, Travis O'Arian, along with his 14-year-old accomplice, Nicole Jackson, had engaged in a 35-minute shootout with police deputies. It seems inconceivable, the stuff of nightmares, and yet it is all too real. The courtroom remains silent, every eye now fixed on the small figure of Travis. His face, still bearing the roundness of childhood, is etched with an expression that defies comprehension. This is the boy who, after escaping from the Florida United Methodist Children's Home, had wielded a shotgun and an Alaska .47, firing upon deputies in a desperate bid for freedom. The narrative unfurls with excruciating slowness, each word heavy with implications. When the time for sentencing arrives, the judge's voice cuts through the silence like a knife, sentencing Travis to a maximum risk assessment program followed by conditional release. The room exhales collectively, the boy's identity now forever linked with an act of unimaginable violence. The chilling tale of Morgan Geyser and Anissa Weier. Next, we move to Waukesha County, where the case of Morgan Geyser and Anissa Weier unfolds. The courtroom is again steeped in tension as the defendants are brought in. Their faces are obscured, cloaked in the anonymity of youth. Slowly, their identities emerge through the horrifying narrative of their crime. On May 31st, 2014, these two girls, just 12 years old, lured their friend Peyton Leutner into the woods and stabbed her 19 times, all in a twisted bid to appease a fictional character named Slenderman. The courtroom listens in stunned silence as the story unfolds. The girls' motivations, their chilling belief in a myth, and the cold execution of their plan leave everyone grappling for understanding. As Morgan and Anissa's faces are finally revealed, the shock is palpable. They are just children, their features still soft with the innocence of youth. And yet, their eyes hold a darkness that belies their age. Their sentences are handed down: Weier to 25 years to life, and Geyser to 40 years to life, and the courtroom is left to ponder the unsettling reality of such evil residing in such young hearts. Devon Shepard, a cry for help. In Franklin, Indiana, another case stirs the public consciousness. The arrest of a 9-year-old boy, Devin Shepard, for fighting another student and striking a teacher is almost beyond belief. As the details emerge, the courtroom is filled with a mixture of anger, sorrow, and disbelief. Devin, an autistic child, had been subjected to bullying, and his reaction, though violent, was born out of desperation and fear. The video of his arrest, shared online, sparks outrage and sympathy in equal measure. Devin's face, tear-streaked and bewildered, becomes a symbol of the tragic consequences of untreated trauma and misunderstood behavior. The charges are dropped, but the impact of his case lingers, a stark reminder of the need for compassion and understanding in dealing with troubled youth. The horror of Lionel Tate. The case of Lionel Tate, however, plunges the courtroom into a deeper abyss of horror. The setting is Broward County Circuit Court, where the air hangs heavy with the gravity of the crime. A 13-year-old boy, Lionel Tate, is accused of murdering a 6-year-old girl, Tiffany Unick, in an act of violence that defies comprehension. The courtroom is silent, the spectators barely breathing as the details of Tiffany's brutal death are recounted. Lionel, a boy of imposing size for his age, had claimed he was imitating wrestling moves he saw on television. But the extent of Tiffany's injuries, a lacerated liver, a fractured rib, and a swollen brain, tells a different story. As Lionel's face comes into view, the courtroom is struck by the dichotomy of his appearance. A child, yet capable of such monstrous violence. The judge's voice resonates with finality as Lionel is sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The room is left to grapple with the disquieting question of how such darkness could take root in someone so young. Daniel Bartlam, From Fiction to Reality. In Nottingham Crown Court, the atmosphere is thick with anticipation as Daniel Bartlam is brought before the judge. The story of his crime reads like a twisted plot from a horror film. On April 25, 2011, Daniel, just 14 years old, had bludgeoned his mother to death with a hammer and then set the house on fire to cover his tracks. The courtroom is shrouded in a sense of surreal disbelief as the narrative unfolds. Daniel, it is revealed, had been inspired by a storyline from the soap opera Coronation Street. His face, pale and expressionless, becomes the focal point of the room's collective horror. The judge's sentencing life in prison with a minimum of 16 years brings a somber closure to the proceedings. The reality of a child committing such a premeditated act of violence is almost too much to bear. Nicole Kip Miller, A Mother's Betrayal. Finally, we arrive at the Bay County Circuit Court, where Nicole Kip Miller is about to face judgment. The courtroom is hushed, the air thick with the weight of what is to come. Nicole, just 19 years old, had given birth to a baby boy, only to dispose of him in a garbage bag and leave him to die. The details of her actions are almost too horrific to comprehend. She had returned to the scene twice, once to retrieve the baby and again to place him under the stairs of an abandoned building, where he ultimately perished. As Nicole's identity is revealed, the courtroom is struck by the juxtaposition of her youthful appearance and the monstrous nature of her crime. The judge's voice carries the finality of justice as she is sentenced to 20 to 40 years in prison. The room is left to grapple with the unfathomable reality of a mother abandoning her child to such a fate. The broader implications. Each of these cases serves as a stark reminder of the capacity for darkness that can reside in the hearts of even the youngest among us. As the identities of these youthful perpetrators are slowly unveiled, the courtroom becomes a place of profound introspection, a theater where the collective conscience of society is forced to confront uncomfortable truths. How could such innocence be corrupted to the point of committing acts that defy comprehension? What insidious forces shape their paths, leading them from the purity of childhood to the desolation of violence? The answers are neither simple nor straightforward. They are embedded in a tangled web of psychological trauma, social dysfunction, and environmental pressures. These cases compel us to look beyond the surface, to delve into the complex interplay of familial neglect, peer influence, and societal failures that may have played a role. In doing so, we are faced with the sobering reality that the roots of such malevolence often lie closer to home than we might wish to admit. Travis O'Rian and Nicole Jackson, a desperate bid for freedom. In the case of Travis O'Rian and Nicole Jackson, their actions were born out of a desperate bid for freedom, driven by the harsh realities of their lives in the children's home. Their identities, once revealed, lay bare the tragic circumstances that had shaped their violent outburst. The courtroom is left to ponder the failures of a system that allowed such desperation to fester. Morgan Geyser and Anissa Weier, The Power of Myth. For Morgan Geyser and Anissa Weier, the influence of internet culture and the chilling power of belief in the supernatural played pivotal roles. Their faces, once obscured by the veil of anonymity, reveal the tragic consequences of unchecked imagination and the pervasive influence of online myths. The courtroom becomes a stage for examining the impact of digital media on young, impressionable minds. Devon Shepard, Misunderstood and Neglected. Devon Shepard's case highlights the tragic intersection of mental health and social neglect. His tear-streaked face, a symbol of misunderstood behavior and unaddressed trauma, prompts a deeper conversation about the need for compassion and appropriate intervention in handling autistic children. The courtroom becomes a forum for advocating better support systems for vulnerable youth. Lionel Tate, Media Violence and Youth. Lionel Tate's identity, once revealed, forces a reckoning with the influence of media violence on children. His imposing presence, contrasted with his youth, underscores the need for responsible media consumption and the importance of addressing behavioral issues before they escalate into violence. The courtroom serves as a sobering reminder of the potential consequences of desensitization to violence. Daniel Bartlam blurring fiction and reality. Daniel Bartlam's case shines a light on the dangers of obsession and the fine line between fiction and reality. His face, pale and expressionless, becomes a testament to the perils of losing oneself in dark fantasies. The Courtroom transforms into a stage for exploring the impact of media on young minds and the importance of distinguishing between entertainment and real-life consequences. Nicole Kip Miller, the tragedy of maternal mental health. Nicole Kip Miller's tragic story underscores the complexities of maternal mental health and the devastating consequences of neglect. Her youthful appearance, juxtaposed with the horror of her actions, prompts a critical examination of the support systems available to young mothers. The Courtroom becomes a place for advocating better mental health resources and support for struggling parents. In each of these cases, the slow unveiling of the perpetrator's identity serves not only to shock and horrify but also to prompt deeper reflection on the societal and systemic factors that contribute to such tragic outcomes. As the faces of these youthful offenders come into view, the Courtroom becomes a crucible for understanding, a place where the complexities of human behavior and the capacity for both good and evil are laid bare. The journey through these cases leaves an indelible mark, a reminder of the profound responsibility society holds in nurturing and protecting its most vulnerable members. How can we reconcile the image of a child with the capacity for such darkness? What unseen forces are at play, and how can they be mitigated to prevent such tragedies in the future? These haunting questions linger, demanding answers that are as complex as the human soul itself. Thanks a lot for watching the whole video. Remember to click the subscribe button and give a thumbs up if you liked it.